You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV. Check out nessp.info for direct links and deals on the site BetUs for 125% off your first three deposits in NFL and college odds for upcoming games, Major League Baseball and NBA futures, and boxing wagers. Also, check out Fanatics, sportswear for your favorite teams, and also network merchandise, retro, Northeast Streaming Sports, National Streaming Sports, Big Football, and the Mac and Jack Sports Show t-shirts. Coffee mugs are coming soon. Check it out.
You're watching Mac and Jack on National Streaming Sports.
Yes, waking up in the morning with Mac and a Jack here live on Roku TV, also on our YouTube channel. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jack. And we got a lot of sports to talk about today, as always. And we got the J train jumping on board right away. I wish we had that train going by your window at this time. It would have been excellent to say J train's with us with that train noise. And I don't know what Saints from their biggest homer. I guess that means luck. I don't know what that means, Jack. But anyway, good morning to you, James. Glad to have you aboard this morning. Jack, we're going to start with the MLB playoffs, and then, of course, we'll jump right into the NFL. Last night, Bryce Harper, Castellanos, and they both had 2 RBIs apiece. The Phillies score 4 in the 8th and a 9th inning, a back-and-forth baseball game. And the Phillies, again, you never can count them out. They have a habit of coming back. The Mets split in Philadelphia, Jack.
There you go again, Mac. Like before the show, the viewers don't know, I took you to task for saying, well, the Mets did okay. They got a split. They achieved their objective. That's nonsense. It's best of 5. You're up 1-0 in the series. You lose game 2. You have a chance to put the Phillies in a deep, deep hole. And you lose game 2. You can't leave saying, well, we got a split, so we're satisfied. All in all, things went well. We would have liked to have won the second game, but still we got the split. We achieved our objective. Wow, what kind of nonsense is that? The Mets were leading in the late innings. You know, it came back to haunt them a little, their overuse of Edwin Diaz. They bring in Edwin Diaz. They're closing the 7th inning. That shows you how badly the Mets wanted this game. Because if they went up 2-0 and they're going back to Citi Field for the next 2 games, plus they have a 5th game in Philadelphia if need be, you have 3 cracks at the Phillies. And I'm going to tell you, Mac, we keep hearing about momentum. And momentum means a little, don't get me wrong, especially when a team goes on a roll. They're hard to stop at that moment. I understand that. But it works in reverse. Once your momentum cools a little bit, it's hard to win games. And maybe yesterday's loss by the Mets maybe cooled their momentum, getting off to a 2-0 lead. Then, the Phillies tied at 3 up. Then Brandon Nimmo hits a homer there at 4-3. Then they lose the lead, then a 2-run home in the 9th inning, and they tie it up. But they ultimately lose the game, So who knows? You know what's going to be. I anticipate, if you want a prediction, let me sum it up. The Phillies go to Citi Field, and they win the next 2 games and wrap it up.
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, listen, I can't disagree with you. I see the split talk. But yeah, when you got the Phillies down, you got to step on their throat because that team is a definitely a World Series favorite out there. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Yes, the Vikings did have their way with Rodgers. I don't know if he's eating mushrooms or not this morning, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, Rick, once we get done with the MLB playoffs. A little scary stuff happening over there in LA as the Padres do beat up the Dodgers. There was a great play as Mookie Betts got ripped off a home run by the left fielder. Let me see if I can get his name. Profar was his last name, but there was interaction between the crowd where you had them throwing a ball towards the left fielder. The play actually stopped for a while. The pitcher and a couple of the Padre players were going at it. Machado kind of got all the players together in the dugout as I was watching it. And you had a meeting, and then the Padres went out and hit 6 home runs, Jack. So the Padres do have the offense to compete with the Dodgers. What do you think? What do you think about that whole back and forth between the fans and the outfielders?
Yeah, just for the record, I picked the Padres to win the series, and I think they will when all is said and done. Profar was kind of teasing the fans. He made a sensational play to rob Mookie Betts of a home run, but Mookie Betts is rounding second base like he knew he had a home run, which he didn't. Why didn't Profar just hold the ball up immediately, throw it in, make it clear? It's as if he was teasing, just having fun. And these players have to know this isn't any sport, not just what happened yesterday in the Padre-Dodger game. You cannot have a negative interaction with the fans because it could lead to something major. It hasn't happened yet. Yesterday should be a reminder of the potential of what could be. Now, things have happened before. Sometimes certain things are unavoidable. We're talking about the National League playoffs. Remember 1973 when Pete Rose and Buddy Harrelson went into it? But that was something that was simultaneous. The two players kind of collided, started fighting. Things like that happen. You can't avoid it with Greg Nettles and George Brett. And then the fans might get upset. They might throw things. But you can't have a player get into it with an opposing crowd in any sport ever. And there should be a taunting rule for that. If a player gets into it, he taunts a crowd in a certain way, he should be immediately ejected from the game. And I'm not talking about one quick gesture like you just take your cap off because you're annoyed in a split second. I wouldn't be so quick to kick him out. But you can't get into it during the game, or the umpire should first issue a warning. If it happens again, you're out. Stop it.
Yeah, I mean, we see it also in football, Jack. When they score a touchdown, they start, when they're, the away team, they start yelling at the fans and making gestures to them. I guess maybe it's done in all sports. I'm not sure. I know they won't do it in boxing because them fans will come in the ring. So, I mean, they're not going to do it in boxing. But in a lot of team sports, they do this, Jack. And I kind of agree with you. Why are you trying to get the fans upset when there's 80,000 of them or 50,000 of them and there's only 9 of you? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And yes, something could happen if you get, as we talked about before the show, you said all it takes is a few, and you're right. Few charge the field, and who knows, they may start pouring on, and that could be a very bad situation for anybody.
Mac, you can enforce discipline, any commissioner's office. You can enforce any rule. A case in point, football sacking the quarterback. We were told, the edge rushers couldn't ease off. There's no way they can do it. Yeah, they found a way to do it and sack the quarterback, put him down a certain way. You take these players, even in the NFL, who go one of these to the crowd. They're holding their fingers like quiet to the crowd, who's after they've scored or they've made a defensive stop or they've won the game. If I'm the commissioner's office, you turn to the crowd, an opposing crowd, and you do something like that, guess what? The next game, you're suspended. No questions asked, you're out. You know what the rules are. You broke the rule. You're sitting a game out. How many players do you think would be doing that in the future? None. You could put a complete stop to it. Yesterday with Profar, going back at the crowd, he should be hold at least one game for the third game of the series because of the potential, that he could have caused for a riot. But it's done, and that's going to be a big point going into Game 3. They're going back to San Diego at least, and
Right.
we'll see what the situation is with crowd control. If they do go back to LA for fifth game, that's the deciding game of the series. So the stakes are going to be so high to see who advances. I think it'll be the crowd will be, I guess, limited to booing, unless it's late in the game and the Dodgers are losing. I would be a little worried about safety concerns if the Dodgers are far down.
Well, let's talk about that. So they go to San Diego. What do the San Diego fans do now? Do they act the same way? I mean, retribution, or if you want to throw balls at our players, we'll throw balls at your players. I mean, you're right. It could escalate. I'm not saying it's gonna, but there's a possibility that it does because fans are like that. You threw a ball at our guy, I'm going to throw a ball at your guy.
Well, you know what they could be done, but it would be difficult for the players to do it. But the commissioner's office should have some authority. If there's serious safety concerns, have the players who got into it, like Manny Machado, Jack Flaherty, Profar, etc., all go out to the outfield together before the game and hold their hands up to the fans. None of that. Shake hands, go back to their dugouts and let everyone know this is just a baseball game. We don't hate one another. Things like that actually work. Remember Willie Mays? He went out to left field when everyone was throwing things at Pete Rose in the outfield, over there in the playoff game. Willie Mays went out and he quieted the crowd down. He held his hands up.
Right.
If you get the right person, when they were having riots in LA after the Rodney King thing, Magic Johnson was walking, the streets, asking for calm. Guys like that can get calm in this, the right place in the situation. Listen, Mac, if there was a riot at Yankee Stadium going on against an opposing player, and Aaron Judge walked out to the crowd and he said, "Guys, stop. No more of this."
Yeah.
In all likelihood, everyone's stopped.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Tatis did get hit with the ball, and that was part of the pitcher versus the players thing. And of course, baseball, they really don't. Yeah, they really don't. They really don't fight. I mean, they have in the past. There have been a couple, but overall, it's a wrestling. Everybody gets there and pulls people out. We'll see. I mean, listen, I think that the Dodgers, I'm still saying the Dodgers win this series, but the Padres do have probably the best chance to knock off a team like the Dodgers. They have the offense and pitching. So I think
it would be ironic, Matt, that Juan Soto leaves the Padres and they win it all. It just shows in baseball, one superstar player usually doesn't have nearly the impact he would in the NBA, and maybe even the NFL. Listen, Bryce Harper's great. He's a future Hall of Famer, even if his career ended right now. And if the Phillies win it all, he's going to be a big reason. But the year he left the Washington Nationals, guess what? The next year they win the World Series without Bryce Harper. A-Rod, the year he leaves the Seattle Mariners, they win 116 games without A-Rod. So one individual playing baseball, I mean, it has an impact, don't get me wrong, but you can win without any one particular player.
Yeah. I think the biggest impact with baseball would be if a ace pitcher leaves. That might be the biggest thing that could happen in baseball, like a quarterback kind of, Jack, moving from one team to another. That might impact it more than just a regular position player. But anyway, today, Jack, we have the Yankees. Of course, they're playing KC. Carlos Rondon against Cole Ragans is the pitching matchup that's going to happen today. What are your thoughts on today's game versus Kansas City?
I'll tell you, the Yankees are fortunate they're up 1-0. What a sloppy game between them and Kansas City. Kansas City, in a sense, gave it away. You know, their relief pitchers were just walking batter after batter. Then there was the disputed call, you know, at second base where they went to the replay, it and it's the game was just sloppy. Aaron Judge, okay, he's a focus point because everyone was talking during the regular season about his postseason struggles. So as long as the Yankees win, they'll be fine. But it has to be inside Aaron Judge's head to a degree. You know, just break out, quiet everyone down. And Giancarlo Stanton, a liability on the bases, Mac. You don't want him to be the front runner on the bases. In other words, you don't want him to be on first base. There were two plays. He could have scored, you know, from first base on a ball hit in the gap that was fumbled around, but he wasn't quick enough to come around, or he didn't want to risk pulling a hamstring by running all out. That's a better way of putting it. And then he could have gotten an infield hit at another point. Any average runner could have gotten an infield hit, but Giancarlo Stanton is thrown out because he's not busting it all out to first base, not because he doesn't want to hustle, because if he knows if he goes all out, he increases his chances maybe substantially of pulling a hamstring. Yeah. It's a little bit of an albatross. Mac, he has 4 years left on his contract with the Yankees. But the only good news I could say, the last 2 years of the contract, the Miami Marlins have paid the majority of his salary.
Right.
Okay? So the Yankees won't be on the hook for nearly as much money. So I don't know, will they cut him? Will they make him a pinch hitter at that? And he's not even a good pinch hitter. But one thing about Stanton, if he goes on the tear, Mac, he could be awesome if he goes on the tear.
No doubt. And you know, big games, big game for both Austin Wells and for Gleyber Torres, as they both drive in 2 runs.
What do you do with Gleyber Torres, Mac? Gleyber Torres has come alive the last couple of months. He's been a good player. He's been so-so with the glove, but with the bat. Yeah. You could argue he's been the Yankees' third best hit on the team behind, you know, Judge and Soto the last couple of months. He is also an albatross on the bases too. He's, for some reason, he likes to keep running when he shouldn't. He makes bad decisions sometimes a little bit, but it's not through lack of effort, I don't think. Well, he loves being a Yankee, but he loves being a Yankee. He loves it. He's been a good Yankee. Listen, if he's gone as a free agent and he comes back to the Yankees, I think the fans would have a warm feeling towards him.
Yes, Jack, I agree. As long as he doesn't make a bonehead running decision, it'll cost us the game. I'm fine with Torres. Austin Wells, the rookie catcher. Listen, I mean, I think we found an offensive catcher anyway. I don't know how great he is on defense, but at least he's providing some offense for us.
He's gotten better on defense. He wasn't hitting for a while, but he's coming around now at the right time.
Yeah, no doubt. We also got Cleveland. It looks like Matthew Boyd is going to go against one of the leading candidates for the Cy Young, Tarek Skubal, for Detroit. So Detroit does have a good shot at even in the series, Jack.
They better do it with Skubal, otherwise they're down 2-0, and that so much for all Detroit's momentum, having the best record in baseball the last 6 weeks or so. Has it been them or the Mets? Huh.
Well, they've both been on a tear. I mean, they really haven't. Yeah, Detroit had.
They better, you know, with their ace, their Cy Young candidate, they better even the series today.
No doubt. Okay, so. Monday night's game we're going to get to right now. Listen, Dak Prescott doesn't need, I guess, some of the weapons on offense. The defense doesn't need.
Monday night, that's not tonight's game, Matt.
Sunday night. I'm a day ahead, Jack. I'm always a day ahead. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But Dak Prescott doesn't need, Cook. The defense doesn't need Micah Parsons and Leonard. I mean, to go toe to toe with the Steelers, who have to me, they got that they got a strong defense, which they showed they do. They got a better than close to average offense. I mean, some games better than average, some games just average. To make that throw on the last play of the game, I mean, the Steeler fans, after waiting all that time to watch their Steelers play, and I mean, it was a long before the game started, a long time. They got to be heartbroken, Jack. I mean, they had that game and they let it get away from on the last play of the game. Prescott throws the winning touchdown.
I'll tell you, Dak Prescott, based on that one play alone, showed he's, an elite quarterback. I don't know what position I'd rate him in. He's top 10, obviously, now in the NFL. But to make a clutch pass like that under pressure, fourth down, buy a little time, make a perfect throw. It's such a big win for the Cowboys. What would the headlines be today if that pass was incomplete? The Cowboys fell to 2-3. We'd be hearing all the trouble in Dallas, Mike McCarthy's job, this and that. But instead, there's a good feeling with the Cowboys. They're showing that they're resilient. And everyone's a little surprised in that division. The Washington Commanders in first place at 4-1. But the Eagles look a little dysfunctional at 2-2. And the Cowboys going to 3-2. They're in a good position right now. They're in a good position.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. It really was. And when under conditions like that, because the field's wet, the ball's wet. I mean, Dak did throw 2 interceptions. I'll give you his stats real quick. He threw over 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They had somewhat of a running game, which I think took some pressure off them. Jalen Tolbert was the one with the big touchdown reception. Fields throws for 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. Listen. I mean, it's just a heartbreaker for the Steelers, and as you said, it's maybe a little bit of a momentum builder for the Dallas Cowboys, knowing they can play that well without their 2 stars.
Yeah, well, CeeDee Lamb, his body language with Dak Prescott was less than ideal, but sometimes we read too much into that. Players tend to sometimes get annoyed with one another temporarily, and it's not personal, it's with the play. And you're a receiver like CeeDee Lamb, you want the ball. If you feel you're getting open as a receiver and the ball's not coming your way, eventually you get tired. You say, I'm open here, get the darn ball to me, I'm open. And some people feel a receiver shouldn't do it, you're being a distraction to the quarterback, but sometimes you're helping the quarterback and you're helping the team. If you're an elite receiver and you're open, you can, tell them your case. There's a different way of doing it. You could tell them on the sideline, look, I'm really open. I mean, give a look my way. But so the body language is so and so, but we don't know the relationships between players. Sometimes they have a great relationship, but it could seem like they're argumentative, like 2 brothers arguing, even though they care about one another a great deal. They just want to get on the same page at that moment. But it's not a good look with CeeDee
I agree.
Lamb.
There's a lot of things when you got 2 to 3 seconds to read who's open and who's not. And, they're going to try to double CeeDee Lamb because that's really their main weapon. The rush is coming at you. Maybe you want to go to CeeDee Lamb, but the rush is at you and you got to scramble out of the pocket or whatever. I mean, there's so many things that are going on. And I think that, we may overblow what's said or what the reactions are on the sideline. But to me, listen, CeeDee Lamb is a diva receiver like everybody else, like all the rest of them. And they all are talking to the quarterback all the time, throw me the ball, throw me the ball, throw me the ball.
Well, you know what the problem is to an extent? You give certain of these players like CeeDee Lamb a big contract this year, all that guaranteed money. You know what else you're giving them, Mac, beside the money? You're giving them power.
Yes.
A lot of power. Because what are they going to do? Cut them? Right. And if they're paying them all that money, they got to utilize them because the owner, the GM, they look bad if the player's not producing big time. So they want CeeDee Lamb to succeed. So when CeeDee Lamb starts complaining, making a big fuss, you can't put him in his place. Okay, go to the second team now. We're tired of you talking this and that. CeeDee Lamb has a certain amount of power now, but it's not a situation where he wants to leave the Cowboys. I really think the old standard line that CeeDee Lamb wants to win and he thinks he's the best option for Dak Prescott to go to. But you just said it. When they double team CeeDee Lamb, he's helping the team because someone else is more likely to get open in a scenario like that. But these prima donna wide receivers, they want to make the actual catch to result in a game winner.
Yeah, I mean, look at, we've said that a lot about a lot of first receivers that are definitely the number one on the team, as James said here. There's no real legitimate number two.
Correct.
Well, there wasn't last night because Cook wasn't playing. So, but listen, you get the win. I imagine the locker room, he's happy with the win. So let's start with the game.
Everyone has to be. If you're going to Pittsburgh and you win there, an unbeaten Steelers team, I mean, I'm sure CeeDee Lamb is quietly sulking a little bit. He's probably thinking, we won the game. I'm happy. I'm going to, keep it low key, but I'm going to talk to Dak on the side. I'm sure him and Dak Prescott are sitting down and having a friendly conversation. They've maybe had it by now, or they're going to have a friendly conversation.
Sure.
How to work things for the better.
I agree. So let's get to the first game on Sunday. Minnesota ends up winning the game over the Jets 23-17. Rodgers has 2 TDs but 3 interceptions. Sam Darnold didn't have maybe there's chinks in the armor of
yesterday.
I've
been a big Sam Darnold.
Maybe there's chinks in the Minnesota armor. I think, Jack, and I'll let you say what you got to say after this. I think every perfect team has those games where they don't look so good. Miami had a couple of those games on their way to their perfect season. I can remember Brady and the Patriots had a couple of close games during their perfect season where they didn't look so good. But the whole team, the defense, came to the rescue. And, it's going to happen. I'd rather have a win and my quarterback not play that good than have a loss and my quarterback throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns like happened in another game that we'll get to in a little bit. Minnesota won the game, and that's the most.
Well, it's all about winning. When Aaron Jones went out injured, that hurt Minnesota because it did affect, their running game to a degree. But there were times when Sam Darnold, had receivers wide open, and it was just lousy throws. I didn't want to hear that he was under pressure. Terrible throws. It wasn't a question of judgment. It was just the receiver was open, and he missed them missing receivers by wide margins.
Yeah.
And there were so many penalties called on the Jet defenders. But I guess to keep players like, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in check, some of those, they got to change the rules a little. These cornerbacks are such a disadvantage, Mac.
Here comes the Jet fan. Here comes the Jet fan out. They listen.
No, I wasn't complaining. No. I'm not saying the penalties weren't justified according to the rules, but the rules have got to lessen up a little bit. If it really affects the play and it really affects the receiver, prevents him from catching the ball because you did something illegal, the flag should be called. But I don't want to hear just a little contact right before the ball's thrown, to this, to that. Sometimes there's too much of a fine line. But the Jets secondary played well all in all. The defense, after getting off to a slow start, played really well. Aaron Rodgers played poorly. There's no way of getting around it. And one of the things with Aaron Rodgers, it's his job to get everyone on the same page with him. Aaron Rodgers is more about timing than any other quarterback in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers isn't a traditional quarterback who's going to take the snap in the shotgun and just heave it down the field, okay? It's all about timing, getting a quick release, beating a rush. Everyone's got to be perfectly on the same page. And these players haven't, like Mike Williams, haven't had enough time with them, to get the timing down. And Breece Hall at running back, what the heck is going on with Breece Hall? I mean, I can't believe you go from one of the elite running backs in the NFL to, one of the worst. I'm waiting for him to break out. He's too good a player. Maybe his breakout game is next week, but man, he hasn't gotten 5 games and he's awful.
Rick brings up a great point where the roughing the kicker penalty, which gave the Jets the ball back and 15 yards in the first down, he barely touched the punter. That should have been running into the punter, not roughing the punter. Another terrible call, and it goes both ways to me, Jack. I think that some of the penalties, interference penalties versus the Jets could have been holding penalties. I mean, they grabbed them, yes. Before the ball got there or whatever. Interference to me is absolutely knocking the receiver off balance. But this is what they're calling right now. The flags are just, I don't know. The flags are.
No, I'm not complaining, Mac. I'm not complaining. The penalties were justified under the rules. I'm not complaining. Yeah. The officials didn't cost the Jets the game. Nothing like that at all. It's very hard if you're a cornerback. As great as Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed are, you have to guard Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. That's a tall order. And the rules are set up where cornerback has to be basically hands-free.
It's a tough position.
It's hard. It's hard with the corner. It's the hardest position to me. The hardest position, arguably, to play in the NFL is cornerback. You might say quarterback, but a quarterback, knows what he's doing. He knows what the play is going to be in his head when he gets the ball. The cornerback has to anticipate so much, and he's going against a world-class athlete with blazing speed a lot of the time, who knows what he's going to do, and you have to anticipate. You have to react. And you just put a hand on him for one moment, and they're going to flag you.
I got a stat for you, Jack. Last year, at this point in the season, with Zach Wilson, the Jets were 2-3 with 93 points scored. The same exact stat as this year. Wow, that's something.
But they're moving the ball better, all in all. I mean, you have to trust the naked eye. It's like night and day in there. Zach Wilson, they baby during the time it was in there. And, he had a great game in the losing effort to the Chiefs last season and would make a good play now and then. But the upside and the potential going forward is like night and day between him and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they're playing Buffalo Monday night to see who's going to be in the division lead. Believe it or not, the Jets could be in first place if they beat the Bills, at home on Monday. And big difference between Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson if you had to have one of them quarterbacking you. Because at least with Aaron Rodgers, you could take chances on offense. With Zach Wilson, they were playing it very conservative. But the Jets will get in sync as we go along somewhat more, I think. But my concern is the offensive line is going to have to hold up. If it breaks down as the year goes along, it could create some problems.
Yeah. Chicago just destroys Carolina. Caleb Williams, listen, maybe I'm wrong about the kid. He does have a lot of weapons, but he has a big game as he throws for over 300 yards. Andre Swift, they utilize him as a running back, 73 yards and 1 touchdown, and he hooks up with DJ Moore twice. Bad trade to me by Carolina to get rid of all those things for one quarterback that's not playing right now. They end up winning 36-10, Jack.
Do you think Bryce Young is good? They're going to bring him back. I think they will as the starter, maybe even next week. Andy Dalton comes in, he wins one game, everyone gets excited. But yesterday, that put in perspective. I'm used to the Andy Daltons, the Joe Flaccos. They're called adrenaline quarterbacks at this point in their career. They were once good. They can still be good for given games. You know, they could maybe put 2, 3, 4 weeks together. I'm not questioning that. But you got to know either Bryce Young's your quarterback of the future or he's not. I mean, it's that simple at this point. And you have enough evidence if you're Carolina to give up on Bryce Young. I mean, I don't think you quite have enough evidence to give up on him. Why not bring him back, play him? I mean, I could understand they wanted to salvage the season with Andy Dalton, but yesterday was a reality check with the Carolina Panthers.
Yes, they're just they're not a good team, Jack. I mean, I'm not going to blame Andy Dalton. I think he's a better quarterback right now than Bryce Young is, and maybe Bryce Young does come back near the end of the season. I think they're going to go with Dalton for at least 1 or 2 more games, then maybe bring Bryce Young if they lose both those games. Because I mean, to me, they're not going to go to the playoffs anyway. I don't understand. I do understand. You want the team to think it has a legitimate chance of winning. I don't know if they think they have a legitimate chance of winning with Bryce Young right now, and that's the problem they have in Carolina. And you don't want your team going out there saying we're going to lose again today, right? You want to go out there with a little hope that maybe they can win the game. So I don't know. It's a tough position. It really is.
They have 12 games to go, and if the team knows they're completely out of it, it's brutal.
It is.
Very hard coming to work, very hard getting enthusiasm. It's a very depressing atmosphere. And I agree with you. At least Andy Dalton was giving them some immediate hope, especially his first game when they beat the Raiders. There was some hope there, but I think the Carolina Panthers season basically hinges around Bryce Young, whether he's going to be their guy of the future or not. And we got to find it out this year if you're Carolina. You got to find it out. You got to play him the rest of the year. If he's terrible, your decision's made. You could decide we're going to move on from him. We're going to draft another quarterback if we can. Maybe a Shedeur Sanders is available or someone like that. You get him, and then you basically trade Bryce Young. You could get the same 4th-round draft choice that the Niners got for Trey Lance, maybe even a 3rd-round draft choice. If there's one team out there who says, we saw what Bryce Young did at Alabama. We think we could really make something out of him.
It's possible. Baltimore against Cincinnati, the best game of the week. Overtime, back and forth. Lamar Jackson with 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry with a huge run at the end of the game. In overtime, put him in a position to win that game. Burrows threw for 5 touchdowns, 392 yards and 1 interception. The problem is Cincinnati doesn't have a running game. They have to pass the ball, and that's a little scary. I mean, if you're one-dimensional, Baltimore's pass defense is not good at all. They're near the bottom. It's just it was just offense versus offense, and this time Baltimore comes up on top, Jack.
Max, Cincinnati's passing game was so potent, with Chase and Higgins yesterday. They didn't need to run the ball a great deal. There's some discontent in Cincinnati. Jamar Chase, who's one of the leaders on that team, he was complaining, well, we got 30 points. You should win a game when you get 30 points. Wow, that's like ripping into your defense. That's like sending a message. We did our job. And we should win the game because we did our job. Hey, he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, they put up enough points where they should have won the game. But Baltimore's, offense is really hard to stop. It's one of these back and forth thrilling games. And listen, Cincinnati would have beaten most teams yesterday, but they ran into a Raven team that's now hitting their stride.
I agree. Baltimore is definitely, I think, the class of that Central, no doubt. I know Pittsburgh is physical. It'll be a great game when they play, but they're a lot better than Cleveland, and Cincinnati is there.
Cleveland, don't even mention Cleveland. Are you kidding me?
I mean, well, let's talk about it. 34-13. Jaden Daniels throws for 238 yards, a touchdown, and interception. He also has 82 yards rushing. Watson throws for 125 yards, 1 interception. Winston did come in at the end late. Bijan Robinson has a couple touchdowns. I mean, I don't know. You got to start believing in the Commanders, right? I mean, you got to. I mean, they beat Cleveland, which is not a lot, but they're beating who's in front of them. So I mean, that's what good teams do, right, Jack? The teams they should beat, they beat. Now, once they go up against a powerhouse team, maybe it'll be a different story. But right now, the Commanders are in first place, and they deserve it.
Yeah, the Commanders might be last year's Houston Texans, who under C.J. Stroud, a rookie quarterback, went on this run, won the division, went to the playoffs before getting eliminated. Maybe they're this year's version of that. To me, the story was Cleveland. And what are you going to do with Deshaun Watson? And I'll be upfront about it. I thought he was going to have a bounce back year, Deshaun Watson. He's been a colossal disappointment. And yesterday, I don't know whether you saw what happened with this coach, Kevin Stefanski. Cleveland's losing 24-6. They have 4th down. Stefanski wanted to go for it, but Deshaun Watson is walking off the field. He made the decision to go for the field goal. And they had that miscommunication, so they wound up going for the field goal. It's getting to the point, Mac, now where I'm seriously considering, if I'm Stefanski, and he probably is, going to Jameis Winston, my back.
Yeah, you got it.
I mean, they're 1-4 in the year, and the problem is they're paying Watson all this money. He's in the 3rd year, the 5th year contract. They're paying him too much to be a backup. If he's in the 4th year of it, okay. The 5th year, you definitely could move on in a certain sense. But you don't want to pay him all this money and have him on the team this long. But it's easy to forget. Jameis Winston was once the overall number 1 choice in the NFL draft, number 1 overall. So, he's not exactly chopped liver. He started a good number of years with Tampa Bay. So I'm of the mindset that I'm close to making that move, Mac. And if Winston plays well, I stick with him as long as he plays well.
People forget that he actually threw for over 5,000 yards one season. And he's an interception versus touchdown.
He's a pick six machine.
But with the Saints, he played pretty well for those games he was in, Jack. I think a lot has to do with the coach. And listen, Russell Wilson was on 1 year of his big contract. They got rid of him. Sometimes you're going to have to pay for it. Sorry, you made that decision. Sometimes you just got to get rid of that dead wood, man. You got to get him out of there because you're bringing the whole team down. At least maybe they think they have a chance at salvaging the season with Winston. Put Watson on the bench. Maybe you bring him back later. I don't know. But you got to go with the best chance to win right now. Right now, Watson isn't that best chance to win, Jack.
I got to correct you. Jameis Winston was not good with New Orleans. Don't say he lost the job there, and
didn't he go
couldn't hold on to the job because he wasn't effective all in all.
Didn't he go 6-0 when he replaced Breeze that one time, Jack?
I don't remember exactly. I'd like James, next time we have him on to comment on that because I don't remember the particulars of the season. But I remember Jameis Winston couldn't hold on to the starting job. Okay, just flat out couldn't hold on to it. But it doesn't mean he can't start again in the NFL because we've seen situations with Geno Smith and Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield not be able to hold on to a starting job from their original teams, that they went to their secondary teams, and then they had a revival. It's always possible that could be the case with Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston also ticked off the Saint head coach last year at the end of the season. They expected him to take a knee, and with the game wrapped up, and he called an audible to get a touchdown. That's an absolute no-no. That's a no sense reason enough to be removed from a team. But listen, he gets along well with Deshaun Watson. He has Deshaun Watson's back at Cleveland. Jameis Winston's been loyal. But if I'm going to give Deshaun Watson a pass, I'll say this. He really doesn't have a running game. He doesn't really have wide receivers. He doesn't have an offensive line. Maybe no one can function under that situation. I don't know. So maybe, he should be given a pass. But he's been so dreadful, Mac. I can't believe he can't be better than he has. Listen, his wide receivers, he has Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore. Those guys are overrated. All three of them. All three of them are overrated.
They're overrated because they're receivers for Deshaun Watson. Let's go.
No, they're overrated. They went to the other team. Denver moved on from Jeudy. They weren't impressed. Cowboys didn't move on from Amari Cooper.
Yeah, that was a contract thing.
The Jets moved on from Elijah Moore. Come on. I mean,
stop making excuses for Watson, Jack. Texas beats Buffalo on a field goal on the last play of the game. C.J. Stroud had a good, as far as yards when he had a good game, but he was under duress by the Buffalo defense the whole game, turned the ball over on the fumble and interception. Buffalo did everything it could to win this game for the Bills. They played out of their minds against a very good offense. I don't care if his number one receiver went down or not. They got a crew of wide receivers, a good running game. Buffalo defense played their ass off, but the Buffalo offense couldn't get nothing going, Jack.
Yeah, Nico Collins, the great tight end with the Texans, has a hamstring injury. So he went out, and we'll see with those hammies how long it takes you to get back. It varies sometimes, player to player. I've had those just as a recreational runner, and there's a big difference between being able to get out and run again and run at top speed. That's the fact. In football, you have to be able to run at top speed. I know players play at 80% speed, but that extra little burst that you need, that's the difference between a first down or catching a ball.
Sure.
It's vital to be able to go all out. Yeah, I mean, you could say the Bills played a good game. Yeah, I mean, one team has to win, one team has to lose. Houston was coming off that loss to Minnesota, a bad loss. So they were up for this game at home. And and Buffalo's coming off a bad loss to the Ravens.
Right.
A good game. You had to have a winner and you had to have a loser. So unfortunately for the Bills, they came out at the short end against the fired up Houston team.
Jags at Indianapolis, this ended up being a push. Lawrence throws for 370 yards, 1 yard, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Good running game. Flacco throws for 359 yards, 3 touchdowns. They went up by 14 points. Did the Jags? Flacco threw a couple touchdowns to put him back into the game. This was a given.
He was bad early. Flacco was bad earlier before that.
He was good.
Rallied later.
He was good when it mattered to tie the game up. I mean, listen, it was a good game. I don't know what you got against Joe Flacco. I think maybe he cut in line and in a line at the grocery market on you or something. But
I got nothing against Joe Flacco.
I don't know.
Ask the team that got rid of him. Ask the Jets management that got rid of him twice.
I don't care about the Jets
management who got rid of him. Ask the Browns management who got rid of him.
Yeah, how smart was it the Browns to get rid of Flacco when he brought him to the playoffs and won a game? That was really smart of the Browns, Jack. He got when he was wanted, got a nice contract, and right now is playing like a first-string quarterback. I know you don't like it.
They're not going to win.
I'll tell you right now, and I'm going to be honest with you. He played a lot better than Aaron Rodgers did Sunday, Jack. He looked a lot better than Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, yes, he might be a backup, but he could be a starter on a couple teams, Jack.
You get a quarterback who just would hand the ball off yesterday, and you could say he played as well as Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers will be fine going forward. The Jets are going to win their division. and the Indianapolis Colts are going nowhere. That's the difference between
you're not wearing your Jet shirt today, Jack. You can't. You're being under disguise.
Jets will beat Buffalo on Monday and be in
All
first
right.
place.
All right. We'll see.
Who's Indianapolis playing?
We'll
Man,
see.
I gotta look this up to see.
Miami 15-10 over New England. A thing was pulled back. A touchdown was called back because of a toe hit and the heel came down out of bounds when the toe was in bounds. I don't understand some of the rules this time. New England had a real shot at winning this game, but did not. So, it is what it is. I don't know what to say.
I got to laugh, Matt. The Indianapolis Colts with Joe Flacco are playing at Tennessee on Sunday.
That's fine.
I mean, if they can't beat the Tennessee Titans, we'll see. I mean, a game like that, Flacco could show up and maybe be effective.
Jack, he passed for 350. He passed for 359 yards.
And you're the one, Mac. You are so full of it, Mac. You're the one who always says, when a quarterback puts up big yardage numbers, that means he really didn't have that good of a game. He didn't
Lawrence passed for 371 yards, so I guess he didn't have a good game either.
They won. That's different. It's all about winning. Yeah.
Said Broncos beat up the Vegas Raiders. I'm not calling them Oakland because they play terrible right now. Listen, Bo Nix throws for 2 touchdowns, runs for a touchdown. It was really a jump, not a run. He scores 3 of the touchdowns for the Broncos. The biggest thing that I saw was a video of Max Crosby saying, I've been around. This is the way it is here. He's like, this is the way it is in Las Vegas right now. It's just it's nuts. And he also said that Davante Adams was his boy. He's supporting Davante Adams. I don't know how I would take that as I was Antonio Pierce. You're throwing support to Davante Adams while we lose, saying this is the way it is. I wouldn't be too happy with Max Crosby.
Max Crosby wanted the Raiders to sign Antonio Pierce to be the full-time coach.
Right.
When Pierce was the interim coach, he reportedly went to management. He was a public advocate for it.
Yes.
The players wanted Antonio Pierce. They went 5-4 with him last year. Yes. And now they're turning against him. Listen, the fault is they don't have a quarterback who can get the ball to Antonio Pierce. Gardner Minshew was benched yesterday for Aiden O'Connell. And Aiden O'Connell was worse than Gardner Minshew was bad yesterday. That's what the problem, is actually.
Yes.
And, but it's a mess with the Raiders there. I'll tell you, it's a mess what's going on. But can they rebound? You need a decent quarterback to rebound. And logically, they're really going to rebound. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, possibly if the defense gets it together and they play the way they did at the end of last year when they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City in a big regular season game, it's possible the Raiders could salvage their season. They beat the Ravens earlier this year. Come on. But then they lose to the Carolina Panthers at home. They beat the Ravens in Baltimore and then lose to the Panthers at home. If that's not dysfunctional, I don't know what is.
I agree. Jack, my Giants beat Seattle 29-20. Daniel Jones goes 23 for 34, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception. The rookie running back Tyrone Tracy runs for 129 yards. Darius Slayton with a huge game, 122 yards receiving. Geno goes 28 for 40. 284 yards and a touchdown. The thing that I loved, and not only because the Giants scored almost on all the teams played well. The thing I love was the defensive backs playing against that wide receiver crew. Deonte Banks has a huge game against DJ Metcalf. I think he only had 4 receptions for 30-something yards. Big game for this defensive secondary. But as you said, they got the Bengals next week. Can they do that against Jamar Chase and TJ? I don't know. T. Higgins, I don't know.
Right. Next week, Mac, against the Bengals, that is going to tell me who the real Giant team is. If the Giants should beat the Bengals, I'm going to say, this Giant team is better than we thought they are, and they have a chance of winning their division even. They have a reasonable chance of going to the playoffs, winning their division. if they can beat Cincinnati, like you say, Mac, there are no moral victories.
Mm-mm.
If they lose 27-24 to the Bengals, come up a little short, and Daniel Jones has these wonderful numbers, it means nothing, Matt. It means
I agree.
nothing if they lose the game. I don't want to hear that the offense played well. They did this, they did that. Apparently, they didn't do everything right, because this is a desperate Bengal team. And I still think it's a good Bengal team. I think they're a good team despite their record. And if the Giants beat them and basically, I don't want to say put an end to the Bengals season, but put the Bengals in such a hole that their chances of making the playoffs are extremely slim, that'll tell me something about the Giants. So you get your reality check on Sunday. I think the Seahawks are a bit overrated. Giants, played well, got him in a good spot. Daniel Jones played well to his credit. But listen, Daniel Jones is capable of playing well. He played well a couple of years ago to the Giants in the playoffs. There's a difference between being a franchise quarterback and just playing well for certain games.
I agree. Malik Neighbors should be back for that game too, which will help out the offense a little bit. The defense of the Bengals is suspect, and that's where I think the Giants have an opportunity. But they're going to have to slow down, Burrow, and that's going to be a real tall order. Tonight, Jack, we have New Orleans at Kansas City. Of course, James is saying that the Saints are as good as the Chiefs, maybe better on paper. Paper don't matter when it comes to a game. The Chiefs' defense is one of the best in the league. Saints have a good defense too. I love the addition of Kareem Hunt coming back, a chance to go to Super Bowl. He seems invigorated, had a couple of big runs last week. I think you're going to see Kareem Hunt have a big game against the Saints. He'll have to. I think it's going to be a real good game, Jack.
Yeah, with Pacheco out, I mean, they might rely heavily on Kareem Hunt, especially Rashee Rice getting injured and him being out for the year. Chiefs, the mark of a great team is when you're not playing that well and you're 4-0. You're 4-0 and you're not playing that well and you're thinking, wow, we should really be 2-2, yet you're 4-0. That's a championship pedigree. You find ways to win games. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL in figuring things out when they're not playing well. How do we start playing well again? How do we get it together? And I think that at this point now, they're not playing well.
Yeah.
They're and they're 4-0. I think they are going to beat New Orleans tonight. But, I give the Saints a good chance of winning the game. I know it seems like I'm hedging. I think the Chiefs will win a fairly high-scoring game.
I do too.
But if New Orleans wins tonight, and they do it clearly, decisively, that means the Chiefs really have problems that they have to figure out. Not just adjustments, but real problems, even though they'll be 4-1 and they'll be still in command of their division.
One question before we sign off. Do the Chiefs need to lose a game, Jack?
No, you don't want to lose the game. The Chiefs have an outstanding defensive unit led by Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie. And that's going to carry them the rest of the way for the most part. Everyone will hear Mahomes, Kelsey, and all that. But it's the Chiefs defense that's going to be mostly responsible if they're going to win a third Super Bowl. And the defense is gelling. The defense is there.
The reason why I ask you that is because every week, even though you're not playing your best, you win. And you say, oh, we'll work on it. But the reality check hasn't happened yet, that you're really not as good as you could be. And you need a couple players to really make that run to win the Super Bowl. If that's the goal for the Chiefs, which I think it is, sometimes you need that loss just to give you a reality check. Because right now you're winning no matter what. And I think sometimes a team needs a wake-up call. And maybe the Chiefs need that. That's why I'm asking you that. But
yeah, I don't think so. I think they know they haven't been playing really that well, yet they've been winning. Obviously a loss would wake them up a little more, maybe create a little more urgency.
Right.
But I kind of feel they want to keep it going. They want to right the ship, while they're winning now. once in a while, if a team is rolling over opponents and winning all their games easily, and they have a feeling of invincibility, then if they lose to a much weaker team, that's a reality check.
Right,
Whoa, we didn't see this coming. We better get our act together. Then it could be a good thing. But that'd be nothing redeeming for the Chiefs if they lost the Saints today. Nothing redeeming at all.
Folks, thanks for tuning into the Mac and Jack Sports Show. Up next is Coffee and Sports. Stay with Roku.